I still remember the day I first saw him in our introduction to literature class. My name is Alex. I'm 20 years old, and I'm currently in my second year at Westlake University. I've always been the quiet type, more comfortable with my nose in a book than making small talk at parties. Growing up in a small town, I'd always known I was gay, but coming to college was my first real chance to explore that part of my identity freely. That's where this story begins, not with some grand romantic gesture or love at first sight, but with an awkward, endearing moment that changed everything. Jamie was the kind of person who lit up a room without even trying. Tall with tousled brown hair that always looked perfectly messy, and these incredible hazel eyes that crinkled at the corners when he laughed. He sat 2 rows ahead of me in class, and I'd spent the better part of the semester stealing glances at him while pretending to be deeply invested in Shakespeare's sonnets. We'd spoken a few times, casual conversations about assignments or borrowing pens, but nothing substantial. I wasn't even sure if he was into guys, and I definitely wasn't brave enough to ask. Our campus is beautiful in the fall, with old brick buildings and maple trees that turn brilliant shades of red and orange. It was early October when everything changed. Let me take you back to that day, the day I caught Jamie practicing a kiss on his hand, and how that single moment set us on a path neither of us expected. I was running late for my study group at the library. The shortcut through the humanities building seemed like a good idea until I realized I'd forgotten my textbook in the classroom from my earlier lecture. Doubling back, I pushed open the door to what I thought would be an empty room. That's when I saw him. Jamie was standing by the window, his back to me, completely unaware of my presence. At first, I thought he was just looking at his hand for some reason, but then I realized he was kissing it. Not just a quick peck, but a gentle, practiced motion. He was literally practicing kissing on his own hand. I must have made some sound, a gasp or maybe just the shuffle of my feet, because he spun around, his eyes wide with horror when he saw me standing there. His face turned a shade of red I didn't even know was possible for human skin to achieve. For a moment, we just stared at each other, frozen in what was possibly the most awkward moment of my entire life. He started, then stopped, clearly unable to come up with any reasonable explanation for what I'd just witnessed. Testing for poison? I suggested, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Very medieval of you. And then, something magical happened. Instead of being mortified or angry, Jamie laughed. It was a genuine laugh that seemed to break the tension between us. Yeah, exactly. Can't be too careful these days, he said, running his hand through his hair in that way that always made my stomach do a little flip. I just came back from my textbook, I explained, pointing to where it sat on my usual desk. I didn't mean to interrupt your whatever that was. He sighed, and something in his expression shifted. There was vulnerability there that I hadn't seen before. If you must know, he said, his voice quieter now, I've never actually kissed anyone. Not properly. And I have this situation coming up where I might need to, and I don't want to be terrible at it. I grabbed my textbook, clutching it to my chest like some kind of shield. A situation? Like a date. Sort of, he said, looking everywhere but at me. There's this person I like, and I think they might like me back, but I've been too nervous to make a move because of the whole never kissed anyone thing. My heart sank a little. Of course there was someone he liked. Someone who probably wasn't me. I'm sure you'll be fine, I said, trying to sound encouraging. It's not exactly rocket science. Says someone who's probably kissed lots of people, he replied, finally meeting my eyes. I laughed. Not exactly. I mean, I've had a few, but I wouldn't call myself an expert. What happened next still feels surreal when I think about it. Jamie took a step toward me, his expression a mix of embarrassment and determination. This is going to sound crazy, he said, but would you? Could I maybe try it? With you? Just to practice? My brain short-circuited. Did Jamie, gorgeous, funny, seemingly straight Jamie, just ask to kiss me? You want to practice kissing with me? I repeated, certain I'd misheard him. It's stupid, forget I said anything. He backpedaled immediately, turning away. No, wait, I said, surprising myself with my boldness. If you want to. For practice. I could help with that. He turned back, relief washing over his features. Really? You wouldn't mind? Mind? Would I mind kissing the guy I'd been daydreaming about for months? What are friends for, right? I said, trying to sound casual while my heart threatened to pound right out of my chest. Right? He nodded, taking another step closer. Friends, let me explain why this moment mattered so much. It wasn't just about the possibility of a kiss. It was about crossing a threshold. Up until that point, Jamie had been this unattainable crush, someone I admired from a distance. But now, standing in that empty classroom with golden afternoon light streaming through the windows, something was shifting between us. There was a new possibility opening up, even if it was under the guise of practice. So, should we just? I gestured vaguely, not sure how to proceed with this bizarre but thrilling scenario. Maybe not right here, Jamie said, glancing toward the door. Someone could walk in, like you just did to me. Fair point, I laughed. Where then? Do you have time now? We could go to my dorm. My roommate has band practice until 6. And that's how I found myself walking across campus with Jamie, making small talk about classes and the weather while my mind raced with thoughts of what was about to happen. Was this really just practice for him? Was there actually someone else he liked? Or was this his roundabout way of making a move on me? Over the next few weeks, Jamie and I started spending more time together. What began as an awkward encounter transformed into genuine friendship. We discovered we both loved the same obscure indie bands and could quote entire episodes of the same TV shows. We started studying together for our literature class, meeting at the campus coffee shop where the barista eventually started preparing our usual orders as soon as we walked in the door. But what about that kiss, you're wondering? Well, we didn't get to it right away. When we reached his dorm room that day, something changed. The boldness that had prompted his request seemed to evaporate, replaced by nervous energy as he showed me around his small but tidy space, pointing out his collection of vinyl records and the photos of his family on his desk. So, I said finally, when it became clear he wasn't going to bring it up again. About that practice session, Jamie sat down on the edge of his bed, patting the space next to him. I'm sorry for putting you in this weird position, he said as I sat beside him, careful to leave a respectable distance between us. It was a stupid idea. It wasn't stupid, I assured him. Just unexpected. He looked at me then, really looked at me, in a way that made me feel like he was seeing me for the first time. Can I tell you something? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. There isn't someone else I like, he admitted. Or, well, there is, but it's you, Alex. It's been you for a while now. I just didn't know how to tell you, or if you'd even be interested in someone like me. The world seemed to stop spinning for a moment. Someone like you? I repeated. You mean someone who's kind, and funny, and ridiculously good-looking? A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. I meant someone who's never been with a guy before. I've only dated girls in the past, but I've known for a while that I'm attracted to guys too. Specifically, one guy. He looked down at his hands. Here's where I need to pause and explain something important. Coming out isn't the same for everyone. For some people, like me, it's a process that happens relatively early. For others, like Jamie, it happens later, sometimes after they've already established an identity that doesn't quite fit. The courage it took for him to admit this to me, not just that he liked me, but that he was exploring a part of himself he'd kept hidden, was enormous. The hand-kissing thing? I asked, piecing it together. He laughed, embarrassment coloring his cheeks again. I was trying to work up the nerve to ask you out. Pathetic, I know. Not pathetic, I said, shifting closer to him. Endearing, actually. Our first kiss didn't happen that day. Instead, we talked for hours, about when he first realized he might be bisexual, about my own coming-out experience in high school, about our mutual fear of rejection. It was intimate in a different way, laying our vulnerabilities bare before we ever touched. Our actual first kiss happened a week later. We'd been to see a movie, not officially calling it a date, but both of us knowing that's what it was. He walked me back to my dorm, the campus quiet and beautiful under a canopy of stars. We stopped outside my building, that familiar awkward energy returning as we both realized the evening was coming to an end. I had a really good time tonight, I said, scuffing my shoe against the pavement. Me too, Jamie replied. He took a deep breath, then added, I think I'm ready now. For that practice run. My heart skipped several beats. Are you sure? He nodded, stepping closer until I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Unless you've changed your mind? Definitely not, I whispered. Jamie reached up, his hand gently cupping my cheek. I could feel the slight tremor in his fingers, see the nervous anticipation in his eyes. Slowly, he leaned in, giving me plenty of time to back away if I wanted to. But backing away was the last thing on my mind. When our lips finally met, it was soft and tentative at first, a question being asked and answered in the same moment. His lips were warm against mine, and I could taste the faint sweetness of the soda he'd had at the movie. After a moment, he pulled back slightly, his eyes searching mine. "How was that?" he asked, his voice husky. "Pretty good for a beginner," I teased. "But I think you need more practice." His smile was radiant as he leaned in again, this time with more confidence. His arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer as the kiss deepened. My hands found their way to his shoulders, then his hair, which was just as soft as I'd imagined it would be. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. "For the record," I said, "if that was practice, I'm not sure I'll survive the real thing." Jamie laughed, resting his forehead against mine. "That was definitely the real thing." Of course, our story didn't simply sail smoothly from there. Real life is messier than that, especially when you're navigating new territory. As we started officially dating, we faced our share of challenges. Jamie was still coming to terms with his bisexuality, sometimes feeling like he didn't fully belong in either straight or gay spaces. I had my own insecurities, occasionally wondering if I was just an experiment for him, a phase he'd eventually outgrow. Our first major hurdle came about a month into our relationship. We were at a party thrown by some friends from the literature department. Jamie and I had arrived separately. He had a late class, so I went ahead with my roommate. When he finally showed up, I was deep in conversation with a group of people about a book we'd been assigned. I spotted him across the room and waved, my heart doing that familiar little dance it did whenever I saw him. He smiled and waved back, but instead of coming over, he joined a different group, a circle that included his friends from the soccer team, guys I knew but wasn't particularly close with. Throughout the evening, we barely interacted. Every time I tried to approach his group, he seemed to find a reason to step away or engage deeply in conversation with someone else. By the time the party was winding down, I was confused and hurt. Had I done something wrong? Was he embarrassed to be seen with me in front of his teammates? I caught up with him as he was leaving. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Did I do something to upset you?" Jamie looked surprised. "What? No, of course not. Then why have you been avoiding me all night?" He glanced around, checking who might be within earshot. "I haven't been avoiding you," he said, but his eyes told a different story. "Jamie," I said quietly, "talk to me, please." He sighed, running a hand through his hair, that gesture I'd come to know so well. "Can we talk about this somewhere else?" We ended up walking to a small park near campus, sitting on a bench under the soft glow of a street lamp. For a while, neither of us spoke. "I'm not out to my teammates yet," Jamie finally said, breaking the silence. "I know I should be. I know it shouldn't matter. But these guys, I've known some of them since freshman year. We shower together after practice, we share hotel rooms for away games. I'm just worried things will change." I tried to understand. Really, I did. Coming out is a personal journey, and no one should be forced into it before they're ready. But it still hurt to feel like a secret. "So what does that mean for us?" I asked. "Are we only together when no one's watching?" "No," he said firmly, taking my hand in his. "That's not what I want. I just need a little time to figure out how to tell them. It's not just about me being bi, it's about us. I want to do it right. And in the meantime," I pressed. "In the meantime, I'll try not to be such an idiot at parties," he said with a small smile. "I'm sorry, Alex." I panicked. It won't happen again. True to his word, Jamie made an effort after that night. He didn't immediately come out to his teammates, but he stopped treating me differently when they were around. We'd sit together at lunch, study side by side in the library, walk to class with our hands occasionally brushing against each other. Small steps, but meaningful ones. The real turning point came during midterm season. Jamie had been stressing about a major paper for his political science class, and I'd offered to help him outline it. We were in his dorm room, books and notes spread across his bed, when his roommate Mark returned unexpectedly with several teammates in tow. "Hey, we're going for pizza," Mark announced, then noticed me sitting cross-legged on Jamie's bed. "Oh, hey, Alex. Didn't know you were here." There was an awkward moment where I could see Jamie tensing, probably trying to decide how to play this off. But then something shifted in his expression. "Alex is helping me with my midterm paper," he explained, then added, "We've been dating for about a month now." The room went quiet. I held my breath, watching the teammates' faces for any sign of disgust or rejection. Mark spoke first. "Cool," he said with a shrug. "You guys want to come for pizza?" Tony's doing that all-you-can-eat deal tonight. And just like that, it was done. No drama, no big scene, just acceptance, as simple as an invitation to pizza. Jamie looked as stunned as I felt. Yeah, he said after a moment, glancing at me for confirmation. We could eat, right? I nodded, relief and pride washing over me in equal measure. Pizza sounds great. Later that night, walking back to campus with our hands properly linked for the first time in public, Jamie seemed lighter somehow. That wasn't so bad, he admitted. Did you think they'd disown you or something? I asked. I don't know what I thought, he said. I've built it up so much in my head. But they just didn't care. That's usually how it goes with the people who really matter, I told him, squeezing his hand. The ones worth keeping around anyway. The weeks that followed were some of the happiest of my life. With the weight of secrecy lifted, Jamie became more affectionate, more present. We fell into a comfortable routine, study dates at the library, movie nights in his dorm room, weekend hikes in the nature preserve near campus. We learned each other's habits and quirks, how he always tied his left shoe first, how I couldn't function without coffee in the morning, how we both had a weird obsession with true crime podcasts. But perhaps the most meaningful moments were the quiet ones. Lying on the grass in the quad, pointing out cloud shapes. Sitting shoulder to shoulder in the back row of a poetry reading. Walking home in comfortable silence, our fingers intertwined. It was in these moments that I realized I was falling in love with him. Not just with his smile or his laugh or the way he kissed me, but with the person he was becoming as he embraced all parts of himself. Our relationship wasn't perfect, of course. We had arguments about silly things like movie choices and serious things like meeting each other's families. Jamie was close with his parents, but nervous about telling them about us. I had already come out to my family years ago, but bringing home a boyfriend was new territory. We decided to tackle the family introductions together. First, a video call with my parents, who were predictably enthusiastic and slightly embarrassing, showing Jamie baby pictures of me and telling him stories about my awkward middle school years. Then, a more nerve-wracking dinner with Jamie's parents when they visited campus for family weekend. They're going to love you, Jamie assured me as we walked to the restaurant where we were meeting them. Just be yourself. That's what I'm afraid of, I joked, adjusting my collar for the 10th time. The dinner started awkwardly, with Jamie's parents clearly trying to figure out exactly what I was to their son. Jamie had told them he was bringing a special friend, which could mean anything from lab partner to soulmate. It was Jamie's mother who finally addressed the elephant in the room. So, Alex, she said during a lull in the conversation, Jamie tells us you're very important to him. I glanced at Jamie, who nodded encouragingly. He's very important to me too, I replied. We've been dating for a few months now. There was a moment of silence, and I braced myself for their reaction. Jamie's father cleared his throat. I see, he said, his expression unreadable. And you're studying literature? Just like that, the conversation shifted back to safer topics, classes, career plans, campus activities. It wasn't the enthusiastic acceptance I'd hoped for, but it wasn't rejection either. Later, as Jamie's mother hugged me goodbye, she whispered, "Thank you for making him happy. That's all we've ever wanted." On the walk back to campus, Jamie was quiet. "They'll come around," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "They just need time." "I know," he nodded. "It's still better than I expected, honestly. My dad didn't quote Bible verses or anything, so that's progress." "Hey," I stopped, turning to face him. "No matter what happens with our families, we have each other, right?" Jamie smiled, that beautiful smile that still made my heart skip. "Right?" He agreed, leaning in to kiss me under the streetlight. "We have each other." As the semester progressed, our relationship deepened. We started talking about future plans. Would we both stay on campus for the summer or try to find internships in the same city? What about the following year, when Jamie would be a senior and I'd still have another year to go? These were good problems to have, signs that we were building something lasting. But there was one conversation we hadn't had yet, one that had been simmering beneath the surface since that first almost kiss in his dorm room. We hadn't talked about physical intimacy beyond kissing. We'd gotten very good at kissing, hours spent exploring each other's mouths, learning what made the other sigh or moan, but we hadn't gone further. I was letting Jamie set the pace, aware that this was all new territory for him. The subject finally came up one night in my dorm room. My roommate was away for the weekend, giving us rare privacy. We were lying on my bed, a movie playing on my laptop that neither of us was really watching, more interested in each other than the screen. Jamie's hand had slipped under the hem of my shirt, his fingers tracing patterns on my skin that made it hard to concentrate. "Alex," he murmured against my neck. "I want more." I pulled back slightly to look at him. "More?" His eyes were dark with desire, but there was vulnerability there too. "I want to be with you. Completely." My heart raced. "Are you sure? We don't have to rush anything." "I'm sure," he said, his voice steady despite the blush creeping up his neck. "I've been thinking about you, for weeks. I'm ready if you are." What followed was both awkward and beautiful, as first times often are. There were fumbling hands and nervous laughter, moments of uncertainty followed by breathtaking clarity. We took our time, exploring each other's bodies with a mixture of curiosity and reverence. Jamie was tentative at first, then increasingly confident as he discovered what pleased me, what made me gasp his name into the darkness. Afterward, lying tangled in my sheets with his head on my chest, Jamie traced lazy patterns on my skin. "That was..." "Yeah," I agreed, kissing the top of his head. "It was... I can't believe I waited so long," he said softly. "Not just for this, but for everything. For accepting this part of myself. For finding you. Better late than never," I told him, pulling him closer. "Alex," he said after a moment of comfortable silence. I love you." Those 3 words, spoken in the quiet sanctuary of my dorm room, felt like coming home. "I love you too," I replied, meaning it more than I'd ever meant anything. As we approach the end of this semester, Jamie and I are still figuring things out day by day. His parents are slowly becoming more comfortable with our relationship. His mom even sent me cookies last week. My parents are already asking if he's coming home with me for the holidays. Our friends have fully embraced us as a couple, to the point where we're now that annoying pair that gets teased for being too cute together. But whenever I look back on how this all started, with me walking in on Jamie kissing his own hand, I can't help but smile. Life rarely follows the path we expect. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with awkward, imperfect moments. Sometimes the person you're meant to love is practicing how to kiss you before they even know your heart. If there's one thing I've learned from this whole experience, it's that courage comes in many forms. It might look like coming out to your teammates or introducing your boyfriend to your parents. But sometimes, the greatest courage is simply being honest about what you want. Even if that means asking someone if you can practice a kiss on them instead of on your hand. Jamie and I still have challenges ahead. There will be more difficult conversations, more moments of vulnerability, more growth. But I'm not worried. Because every time I look at him, at the way his eyes crinkle when he laughs, at the way he runs his hand through his hair when he's nervous, at the way he kisses me like he's been practicing his whole life for this very purpose, I know we'll figure it out together. And that first kiss? The one he was so worried about getting right? For the record, he didn't need any practice at all. He was perfect from the very start. Total _char_count. 18,821.